Good evening, good evening. Welcome to another week of the A.S.P.C 5-week crash course. This is week four. And today we're going to be discussing the assisted living launch checklist. Um, During this checklist, we're going to walk you through everything that you need to have prepared for inspection and everything you're going to need, after you pass your license and what you're going to do to be operational with your first or second or whatever assisted living. So let's get right into it. The course overview, we're going to be laying the foundation in phase one. Phase two is the facility setup. Phase three, documentation and staffing. Phase four, admission readiness, and phase five, ongoing compliance. So those are the things that we're going to be discussing this week. This comprehensive checklist will guide you through each phase of launching your assisted living facility, ensuring you meet all requirements for a successful operation. Okay, let's get into it. Phase one, laying the foundation. The business plan. So these are the things that you're gonna need for your license. So not just obviously you want to have a business plan for yourself, but you're gonna also have to submit a business plan to your state. We're in the state of Maryland, so we're going to be talking about Maryland. Um, Develop a comprehensive business plan outlining your vision, market analysis, financial projections, and operation strategies. One of the key things in that business plan that they're going to want to see is your financial projections. So make sure you have that. A lot of times people think that means that they have to show proof of funds or they have to show that they actually have those funds available, which they don't. You just have to have a financial plan or financial projections included into your business plan. Next, since like I said, since we cover in Maryland, you want to make sure you have already completed your 80-hour manager training, which is a required certification, so you can get the license here in Maryland. So complete your required manager certification and ensure you have the knowledge and skills to operate as an assisted living facility. These trainings are usually offered by nurses in Maryland. Maryland publishes a list of all the people who can give the training, so you can just always hop on the website, OHCQ's website, and find out who's teaching the class. The prices vary. Some people charge, 1,000, 1,200, to where other people, I've seen online people charging upwards of $3,000. So make sure you just go on um OHCQ's and list of certified nurses who are able to teach this class, and find somebody who's close to you and somebody who fits your financial needs. And then also you can another thing to check is the local community colleges as well. So a lot of the community colleges in Maryland offer this training as well for a reasonable price. Um, Securing a home. Acquire suitable property owned or leased that meets zoning requirements for assisted living facility. Um, this is a very important piece, obviously, but a lot of people might overlook it and just get a random property and think that they could just do it. There's some things you want to think about when you're getting into the property. Obviously, you want to think about the layout of the property, preferably like a ranch style or split foyer where most of the rooms are on the first floor. Um, you definitely want to avoid HOAs, especially the more stricter HOA communities. You want to avoid those when you're thinking about doing a assisted living, because they can't stop they can't stop you, but they sometimes will kind of make it harder for you to just kind of breeze through the process. You'll have to go back and forth with them and explain different things. You might have to get a lawyer involved and stuff like that. So you definitely want to just if you don't have to, if you haven't bought a property yet or you haven't leased a property yet, make sure that whoever's looking researching their properties for you are avoiding the HOAs and some things you don't want to avoid. You want to definitely want to be in a good, the best neighborhood you can afford because you got to remember the tenants, your residents are going to be um based upon the quality and the location, the quality of the location. So it's just like any other piece of real estate. You're going to rent to the people who can afford that area. So if you get a high end community, get a property in a higher end community, you're going to be able to, most likely find higher end um residents. Lower end, same difference. You're going to end up with lower end residents who can't pay as much. And there is a sweet spot. I think you can get in a high too high end of a community and kind of put yourself in a bind where you end up struggling to find residents who can afford it, and that's not what you want to do. So I would suggest like upper middle class families, lower to upper middle class working communities. And that can vary from state to state. But, if you do your research, you kind of see, and if you call around and see what type of properties or you see what type of assisted livings are in the areas that you're looking, you'll get a kind of price model and kind of see what's working and see see what people are paying in different areas that you're looking in. And I would try to stay in the range of probably $4,000 to $6,000 a bid. Um, More closer to like 45 to 5,000. 6,000 and up. I wouldn't want to be in that community. I would love for somebody to pay that on a consistent basis, but I can't. I don't want to bank I don't bank my business strategy on those residents. We do a little bit more conservative. Like I said, 4,000 to 5,000 more so, 4,500 a month is around the price range that we like to find properties in communities where families can afford those properties or afford those rates. And then another thing you want to make sure that your access to different things like hospitals, community centers, assisted adult daycare centers, parks, city parks, or county parks, stuff like that. So you can also have like activities and stuff as for them to do. So these are just some of the things you want to think about when you buying a property. Another thing that you're going to need is a layout sketch. This is something that you have to submit with your application. So you create a detailed floor plan showing rooms, dimensions, exits, and common areas to ensure compliance with space requirements. They're going to want to see a layout, hand drawn sketch, or it doesn't necessarily to be hand drawn, but a sketch that's drawn out and it shows everywhere everything is in the house, all the rooms are and the sizes and the exits and everything like that. So that has to goes along with your application as well. Um, Another thing that comes along with the application is zoning, use and occupancy permits, fire inspection report, compensation coverage, licensing fee. If you're in Maryland, you don't have to worry about that. And then your delegated nurse information. So zoning and use of occupancy, that varies from county to county. So you just have to make sure, depending on what county you're in, that you're checking with zoning and you have a that you're in the right area. And then, again, if you're not if you haven't bought your property yet, or you're looking for a property, make sure that the realtor that you're working with um is aware of what you're trying to do, and they're putting you in the right areas where you can actually do this without any problems. So they can definitely look into that and make sure that they're setting you up for success by putting you in the right areas that when they're finding these properties for you, they're locating these properties for you. Use and occupancy permit, same thing. You're gonna have to get that in some counties, some cities, and some people don't worry about it. So it just all depends on like what the counties are and what the cities are requiring. This the If it is a requirement, obviously you have to get it and then submit that with your application. And if it's not a requirement, based on the location, based on the zoning, you just it's just non-applicable on your application. And then a fire inspection report. You can just simply contact the nearest fire department to your property. This is once obviously you got the property. Have them come do an inspection. It's a really simple inspection. They're just making sure that it's a safe environment. They're looking for different things. They're looking for fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. I would suggest putting a smoke detector in the like the dual detectors, the do smoke detector and carbon dioxide. So getting a dual um detectors and putting them in every room. All facilities are non-smoking. They used to allow smoking, but they don't allow it no more, period. It used to be like, the owner's preference. So now it's like it's totally and I'm just talking about Maryland, you can't no smoking is allowed at all. Workman's compensation, so you should have work, you can get workman's comp insurance, or you can file an exemption. Then like I said, licensing fee. There's, if your state requires a fee, obviously you got to submit the fee with the application. Maryland no longer requires a fee, so you don't have to worry about that in here in the state of Maryland. It used to be like 800 or something like that, and it used to be based on the bed count actually, but they took that away. So now it's no fee. And then you have to have your delegate nurses information as well. So whoever your nurse is going to be, you got to have her name, her resume, I think. Her resume and obviously her background check and her number, her nurse's state number or whatever that number is. And you can get that all in the board of nursing, and obviously you can get that from your nurse that you're working with. So yeah. Um some of the essential documents you're gonna need for readiness is the 4-week menu plan. Develop a nutritionally balanced 4-week rotating menu plan that accommodates various dietary needs and preferences of residents. So not only do you have to create a menu plan, it has to be signed by a nutritionist or a dietitian. So um we can help you with that if you ever need it. So you can always just reach out. Um the application fee, again, that's not important. I mean, it's important for other states. It's not a requirement here in Maryland. The documentation, your documentation binder is you want to make sure that you have, well, multiple binders. You have your policies and procedures, your resident files, and your staff records for easy access during inspection. Um, we have if you're in the this coaching, you have all of this information. You could download all of the your policies and procedures, your resident files, and all your staff records. You have all of that you can just edit and put your company name on there and all that stuff. So that's included in this program. So fire safety prep, install all required fire safety equipment, meaning fire smoke detectors and fire extinguishers. So you want to have a fire extinguisher. Like I said, get the smoke detectors in every room, and then you want fire extinguishers in your kitchen and in your utility room for definitely. And then if you have a bigger area somewhere, like maybe like the garage or something, but you definitely want to have a fire extinguisher in your utility room and your kitchen. And then also they're going to require you to have evacuation plans to ensure resident safeties in emergencies. So you definitely want to you have to write that out similar to the the sketch. You also have to have a fire evacuation plan drawn up so you can place them in strategic areas in the property. If you can put them in each room can have one. There should be one. There should be one in each room, each residence room, and then each room like the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and stuff like that. So people, in case of emergency, and you're gonna do drills as well, but in case of emergency, it's up there so they can see which way to head out. So phase two, we're getting into phase two. We'll talk about resident room setup. The room requirements, private rooms require, and this is Maryland, but this is pretty standard nationally. What I've been noticing, this is a standard size, 80 square feet per single room is the minimum that it can be. It can't be any small. It can't be any smaller than that. And then for a semi-private with two residents, it has to be 120 square feet. With emergency exit windows, clean linens, pillows, and comfort items. Each resident room must meet the required square footage and include essential furnishings for comfort and safety. And those furnishings are a bed, a nightstand, a lamp, a mirror, a dresser, a lamp, and also I don't know if I said a chair and like a lock safe in their drawers. So like you put a lock safe in their drawers with a key. Yeah, and I think that's it. So I said the lamp, the nightstand, the dresser, the bed, the chair, and the mirror. Obviously, comforter set, pillow, and all of that. But also in a lock safe in the drawer. It could be either in their dresser drawer or their nightstand drawer, preferably their nightstand drawer. Um, phase two facility conditions. You got like temperature controls, common living space, dining room, and hallway rail. So when it comes to temperature, you got to maintain a comfortable temperature range from 70 degrees in the summer and 80 degrees in the winter to ensure residents' comfort year round. Provide comfortable, accessible common areas where residents can socialize and participate in activities. Dining room, establish a dedicated dining area with adequate seating for all residents to enjoy meals together. And then hallways. So like if you got longer hallways, you should look into getting um grab rails, like just railings, handrails or grab bars along the hallways to support residents' mobility and to prevent falls. Bathrooms and showers as well. They should also have grab bars by the toilet. They're going to require that there's grab bars by the toilet, that you have the commode cover, the toilet cover where they can, the thing that they can sit in and get on and get up. Like the rail thing that you can move. And then the shower chair as well, the one that could, the one that can move. And they also have rails in the shower where they can get in and out the shower. And they have to be grab bars and handrails in the shower, and then one by the toilet if they're, based on how your bathroom is set up. But you definitely want to have grab bars and stuff, and by the toilet in the shower. Minimum of one bathroom per four residents, one shower per eight residents, handrails and mirrors and toilet. ADA recommendations followed, meaning that a wheelchair can fit in there in the door. So there's another thing that they require most of the time in most states is a refrigerator and a freezer, commercial grade refrigerator with thermostat to ensure safety food stores. So they want a thermostat in the freezer and the refrigerator, so where they can always check it. And then they're gonna require a check, like a chart, a temperature chart on the refrigerator, so you could just go ahead and get a magnet and put a temperature chart on the refrigerator, and then I think you check it once a week, and you date it and put the temperature of the refrigerator in the freezer on the temperature chart on the freezer every day or every week. Stove and sink provide proper cooling, cooking equipment and washing facilities that meet health department standards. Um, like I said, thermometers, place thermometers in all cooling and heating equipment to monitor food safety temperatures, and then fire extinguishers. And then another thing that they're going to require you to have is to, have all your washing and chemicals and, bleach. a Lysol, anything that you did, any chemical, you're gonna have to. You can't like if it's your regular home where you could just leave it like under the sink and stuff like that. None of that stuff could be in the kitchen. None of that stuff could be where they can get it. It all has to be locked up and put up. So in like an area where the residents don't have access to it. Fire and safety checks. um Fire equipment setup, smoke detectors in all areas, extinguishers on every floor, sprinkler systems if required. Some cities and counties in Maryland do require sprinkler systems at a certain bed count. Annual inspections and monitor. You want to make sure that you're doing annual checks and with your fire equipment like your smoke detectors and your extinguishers, but then also you having the fire inspector come at least once a year just for your safety and your resident safety, the safety of your facility. One second. Yep, so fire safety equipment must be properly installed, regularly inspected, and easily accessible throughout the facility. Phase three, survey ready documentation. So your policies procedures binder, again, you have this in the private group. You have access to your policies and procedures that you can look through, edit, put your company information. If you have to, edit it to your state's requirements, they're there, and you could do that. 'Cause it's a Word document that you can edit and change. Um, Adult daycare policy includes specific policy for adult daycare service if your facility offers this option to non-residents. So you can, if certain licenses you can allow people to come over to your facility. Say like families could drop their loved ones off at your facilities. So your facility can also act as a adult daycare center. So so you definitely want to make sure you have those policies and stuff included. Emergency protocols. Um, Detailed procedures for various emergency scenarios, including medical emergency, natural disasters, and facility evacuation. The surveyors are very serious when it comes to emergency protocols. These are some of the main things that they're going to be kind of strict on. So you want to make sure you have um your policies that deal with medical emergencies, most importantly, like natural disasters like tornadoes, storms, power outages. You're going to have a like a tub where you store 3 days worth of food for each resident, a flashlight, battery, food, like non-perishable food, pillow, cover, batteries. I said that all in that tub for each resident. So if you got six residents, you got to have six tubs, but you got a resident stuff enough for each of them. So in case of emergency, put up. So if you guys have to go to a certain area of the house or the power outage, y'all have 3 days worth of stuff. Um, you're also going to be required to have an alternate facility that you could take your residents to, or you could use a hotel. You have to have transportation arranged. You got to have all of this stuff written into your documentation, into your policies. Is like, what are you going to do? Nothing generic, like, oh, we're going to do this one. No, there has to be an actual plan that makes sense, that you know how to that you do. You got to have a code word for in case of emergency, like bluebird. If I say bluebird, that means everybody start preparing themselves for a serious event. Everybody come to a certain area in the property or exit to the, if we have to exit the property immediately. Bluebird means everybody start working their way to the front yard, 20 feet away from the property, obviously not in the street. You know what I mean? So these emergency protocols are very important. They want to make sure that you're very clear about what you have set up. So you can't just like breeze through it, and you don't want to just use the templates. You want to make sure that you have something that's consistent with your particular property. Um, and then abuse prevention, clear policies on recognizing, reporting, and preventing abuse, neglect, or exploitation of residents. There also has to be, when you're setting it up, you're going to have the abuse hotlines, and have the police, the social services, and different a couple other numbers that you have to have posted. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but you're definitely going to have the police, um, the residents' rights, uh, and social services or something like that. So if they want to make a call, that number is posted at all times, so that it has to be posted where the residents can see it. So if they're experiencing some type of an abuse, they have to have access to be able to call someone. And also your property has to have a since we're on the topic of making phone calls, your property has to have a landline. They can have their own cell phones and stuff like that, but the actual facility has to have a landline as well. So yeah. So what goes in the resident files? Resident file requirements consist of assessments, service plans, medical records, and plans. So assessments, initial and ongoing assessments with functional and scoring guides to track residents' needs and changes. So that's usually what your nurse is going to be conducting the assessments, like 45 days assessments. That's as is required every 45 days that they're getting assessed. Service plans, individual care plans, detailed care notes, documented services provided to each resident. So you're gonna have that. The medical records, legal and emergency data, physical physician orders, and complete medical history for each resident. That also goes into their file. And then planning, advanced directives, and burial arrangements to respect residents' end of life wishes, whether that's do not resuscitate, like a DNR, and stuff like that. And who to contact, family, funeral homes and stuff like that. All of that stuff goes in their resident files. And then also medication and quality assurance, essential documents. You want to make sure you have medication admitted, the MARs, the medication administration records, quality assurance plan, emergency book, staff files, and training records. Maintain detailed medical records for each residence, and implement a quality assurance program to monitor and improve care standards. All of these documentations should be, again, they're in your in a private group. You got everybody has access to these links, so feel free to download it, edit it and update it as you need. So yeah, we have all of these documents available to you. Delegate nurse oversight. So when it comes to your delegated nurse, you have to have the contract on file, maintain a formal agreement with your delegated nurse, outlining responsibilities and compensation. So they just want to ensure that you definitely have a nurse that you have an agreement with. Their license number, document the nurse's current license, and verify it remains active and in good standing. Contact procedures, establish clear protocols for when and how to contact the delegated nurse for resident care issues and facility oversight. Define the nurse's role in monitoring medication administration and resident care quality. This is all of this stuff is definitely outlined. Should be outlined in your contract with the nurse. And again, this is another piece of another document that we have available to you guys that you have access to. So all of this information is there in your policies and other documents. Assisted living manager credentials. So like we were discussing at the beginning, every owner should have the assisted living managers training. 80 hours managers training, 20-hour med tech training, background checks, physical clearance, and TB screening. So they're gonna have to have the managers training, the 20 hours med tech training, a background check, physician clearance, and TB screening. So they're gonna have to get like a physical and everything to so that they're able to work in a facility, TB screening, stuff like that. They're gonna have to do all of that stuff. All of these documents have to be submitted with the application. Oh no, 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 not with the application. I'm sorry. At least in Maryland, it's not gonna be with the application. These are that she's gonna look at these documents. Your surveyor is gonna look at these documents when they come for the inspection. Staff training requirements. So the residents needs CPR and first aid, Alzheimer's and dementia, medication, infection control, and fire and safety. These are all required trainings that you must have uh ongoing and up to date with all of your staff, including your caregivers, or all of your caregivers have to be CPR first aid certified. They have to have their some type of at least 5 hours of specialized training for Alzheimer's and dementia. They all have to be med tech, so med tech certified. And they also have to, have been there's some kind of training protocols that's in place for preventing and managing infectious diseases within a facility. So everybody should know how to use PPE and everything that they need to maintain infection control. And then obviously fire safety, evacuation procedures, proper use of fire safety equipment. All of this stuff has to be in your um in your documents, in your policies. So when it comes to job descriptions, you want to and this is something that you also have to have. You have to have clear staff responsibilities reviewed and signed by each employee, filed in personnel binder. Detailed job descriptions help staff understand their roles and responsibilities, reducing confusion and ensuring all necessary tasks are covered. So you definitely want to make sure you have this stuff in place. Phase four, emissions readiness. So, so required before moving, sign resident agreement outlining terms, services, and financial arrangements. Assessment documents, complete assessment packet detailing the resident's physical, cognitive, and emotional needs, legal documentation, legal representative documents, emergency contact and advanced directives, and then medical orders, rehabilitation plan, physician orders, medication lists, and burial arrangements. And they also have the uniform disclosure, what is in Maryland, where they outline everything that the everything that's included in what the facility offers based on your pay. So if you're paying 4,500 a month, the uniform disclosure says everything is included and everything is not included. So there might be, food, linen, certain things like that may be included, but then there's things that are not included, like incognite pads and different things like that, extra food and maybe supplements and different things that they might need. You can offer it, but it has to be outlined in the uniform disclosure. So if there's ever a discrepancy, they'll say, okay, and they say, oh, we're paying 4,500 a month, but we're not getting this and that, which was included on the uniform disclosure. It has to be included. 1 second. Yeah. So yeah, the residence agreement. So on the agreement, it must include the name and emission date, services provided. Again, like we were discussing, was not provided, relocation plan, transfer arrangements, responsible party signatures. So who's their POA, discharge fees and penalties if they leave early and stuff like that. Those are what have to be included in the document, and then you can also add some other stuff for your own. for your own well-being and liabilities. Let's keep going. Annual trainings and next steps. So ongoing training is fire safety, infection control, CPR, and first aid renewal every 2 years. Dementia Alzheimer's, um, 2 hours annually. MedTech certification has to stay up to par, and service plan refreshers. You so that's pretty much what it is to get your assisted living up and running. And if, like I said, if there's any more questions or any more things that I didn't cover, we can always, jump on a call or jump on a Zoom and catch up and refresh this stuff. Go over specific details and do one-on-ones. But I just wanted to get this training out to you guys. It'll be uploaded up to the private group shortly. So, yeah, enjoy it. Take your time with it. Go through it. And more than most of all, ask questions and let me do my best to help you guys get set up and get on your feet with your first or second or third assisted living if you need it. Take care. Peace.